Let's go on to our first film pick before I trip over myself anymore. So, first on our list, Billy. It's Megan or Meg 3an.
M3GAN, as I've heard it called
M3GAN.
on certain occasions. Yes, Megan, a sci-fi tinged satirical comedy horror film from director Jared Johnston. The reason it's written as M3GAN is because it stands for Model 3 Generative Android, I think it is, something like that. It's to do with the name of the doll that's at the center of the film. The plot is essentially that a young girl, Katie, is in an accident with a snowplow on a skiing holiday with her parents. They are both killed. She survives and is sent to live with her aunt, who is granted temporary custody of her as her guardian. Her aunt Gemma is woefully unprepared to take care of her. She is works at a toy manufacturer, kind of building robot toys that, in the recent models, have been growing in sophistication and intelligence and ability to interact with children. And she sees an opportunity to kind of kill two birds with one stone in crafting a companion that sort of supersedes her in terms of being able to take care of Katie and also make her a boatload of money and kind of send her career into the stratosphere. So she makes this doll called Megan, who resembles a young girl, but is able to kind of like scour the internet and data pools and respond intuitively to the behavior of Katie and the world around her. And at first, it works a dream, but as with any story revolving around artificial intelligence and also creepy dolls, things don't quite go to plan, and Megan gets a little bit too intelligent for her own good. Obviously, films about possessed and violent dolls aren't anything new. I mean, recently we've had
Chucky.
yeah, of course, we immediately go to Child's Play, the Chucky films. I mean, recently we've had Annabelle in the Conjuring franchise. In more classic territory, we have Dead of Night. My mum always refers to Magic as, haunting her dreams as a little girl, the Anthony Hopkins movie, and also that horrifying clown doll in the original Poltergeist.
Oh, that I
Yeah,
think Poltergeist was the first kind of horror film that I ever watched, and like even though it's pretty tame, like it still freaks me out. It still freaks me
yeah,
out to this day.
yeah, me too. It definitely has
Damn
like
doll.
it has kind of a Steven Spielberg kind of whimsy and kind of childlike slant to it, which kind of makes it, I think, a more child-friendly horror film. But yeah, it
Mm.
still holds the power to shock and disturb. I think even to this day, especially that clown doll. Ugh. So
Ugh.
we are in familiar horror territory, but what Megan brings to the table is first a really wryly satirical and dark, fun sense of humor that melds really well with the morbidity of the subject matter and the more horror tinged sequences that come later, but also this really fresh and interesting and I think insightful perspective on technology, the invasiveness of technology in our efforts to effectively communicate with other people, and how we may use it to enhance that, but ultimately it may end up obstructing our emotional connections. You get these really interesting observations that are really nicely placed within the screenplay. Megan's interface when she sees and analyzes a person, we kind of get these POV shots where the emotions of that person she's looking at are categorized: frustration, confusion, happiness, despair, things like that, and they're given a numerical value to quantify the potency of that emotion. Interesting kind of idea of quantifying human emotion and sort of reducing that down to a numerical value. And also just this humorous sequence where um, Katie asks Gemma to read her a bedtime story, and she goes, "Oh, well, I don't have any paper books because our house is just filled to the nines with the latest tech." And she goes, "Oh, I can pull one up on my phone. Oh, but I have to update the app." And then there's this really awkward silence and this really perfectly placed wide, where it's just like the awkwardness of that situation, and again this technological inconvenience that you know puts a gap, puts like a block in between that nurturing moment.
I guess with the whole like the debate around AI and technology recently. I mean, recently we had the whole chatbot debate about kids using AI chatbots to do their school essays. and things like that. So it's really kind of captured a moment. I think this film where we're kind of seeing this more intelligent, AI stuff that I mean, I think, am I wrong in thinking that this film kind of lends a little bit of itself to the film AI? The whole like little boy, the Steven Spielberg one, and you get like, I mean, obviously their version of the future is very different from our version of the future. We're kind of living it, which I think makes it all the more unnerving.
No, I think that comparison is absolutely valid. I mean, I think in the case of AI, I think that movie is kind of interestingly about tolerance and how, not being judgmental of where something comes from and whether or not it's artificial. I think in the case of M3GAN, it's more kind of about, technology running away with itself. Yes, M3GAN is incredibly sophisticated in the way she can respond to human emotion and behavior and say things that can help and support someone if they're feeling sad, for example. But in the end, that is coming from a place of I'm analyzing, a pool of data, and my words and the language I'm communicating with is coming from a pre-written code, and it's kind of like randomly stitched together. It is coming from a place of artifice, and it's kind of like what happens when that becomes too sophisticated. It's a really interesting topic. On the topic again of M3GAN, because I do come back to her a lot. She's such a great character design. I mean, just looking at the poster, she's incredibly striking, and I think there's like two main reasons for that. She has this really cold, emotionless face that pairs really well with like the devilish intelligence of her character. Because I mean, immediately we look at that face and go, oh, the ski mask, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, cold, emotionless. But when you pair that with a wit and a sophistication of mind, then that becomes really frightening, because it's challenging to read exactly what she's thinking or feeling, which lends this inherent tension to even the most relaxed of dialogue scenes, because we aren't given a reprieve from the unpredictability of her dialogue or behavior. She's kind of just ever present in the back of these dialogue scenes, and we don't know what she's going to come out with or really how she's interpreting the situation. So it's kind of like, is she going to snap and savage someone at any given moment? Her presence casts this shadow of discomfort, but simultaneously she has these incredibly deep, enveloping eyes that pull you in. It's kind of the idea of an impending disaster, a car crash that you can't look away from. Something bad's going to happen, but your vision can't be like deterred from it.
Okay, so M3GAN, what are we rating it? Where are we putting it?
For January big studio released horror film which have a history of being bad, this impressed me. It was better than expected. I'm going to give it a solid B+.